Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Fantasy Football Week 10 wide receiver start or sits. I'm going to be going over my 4 starts and my 4 sits at the wide receiver position as we enter Week 10 of the Fantasy Football season. Following that, I'm going to go into some statistics on how many points specific teams give to the wide receiver position on a weekly basis to see who really has the best and worst matchups going into Week 10. And following all of that, I'm going to be going over my 1 through 36 wide receiver rankings for Week 10. So without further ado, before we begin, I just want to remind you guys all, I think I'm about 8 subscribers away from 4,000. So for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button for content every single week, almost every single day, about 6 videos a week, coming at you with fantasy football information, starter sets, and I answer your questions in the comment section. So if you wouldn't mind, that subscribe button, it's juicy, and it's waiting for you to click it. So help me out there. And for those of you, many of you have already hit me up on Twitter and asked me questions that are time sensitive, like trade questions, waiver wire questions about Thursday night's game. So for those of you who have any questions, please go to my Twitter. Hit me up because honestly, majority of the time, I'm not home, and 11 hours of my days consisting of going to work and dealing with that. So I do not check my YouTube comments during that time span. I will check Twitter on breaks just to see news, see if any injuries, stuff about Leonard Fournette this week. So if you do want to, go follow me on Twitter, shoot me questions. I will answer you at a faster rate for sure than YouTube, because by the time I come home and I look at my YouTube, I got to start recording, I got to start putting together graphics, etc., etc. Anyway, we've gotten past that. Let's talk about my starts of the week at the wide receiver position, and let's begin off the top. We're going to start with Tyler Boyd. Okay, now why is Tyler Boyd one of the starts of the week? Well, it's pretty simple. AJ Green this coming week, and for the foreseeable future until we get any other information, AJ Green is going to be out with a toe injury, which he's dealt with before in his career. Majority of the games, I think, in 2016 that he missed were due to this turf toe and toe injury that he has sustained. This has been a nagging thing for him throughout his entire career, so it's not a surprise to those of us who played fantasy football over the last couple of years and have been AJ Green owners. We expected, we didn't technically expect this to happen this season, but we're not technically surprised, I'd say. So where does that leave Tyler Boyd? Well, that leaves Tyler Boyd as the number 1 wide receiver of this offense. An offense that is going to predominantly throw the ball because, I don't know how much, especially this week against the New Orleans Saints, I don't know how much effectiveness and efficiency Joe Mixon's going to have against one of the better run-stopping defenses in the National Football League. The New Orleans Saints, they give up the second fewest amount of rushing yards per game to the running back position. So that alone is something to be worried about for those of you who are Joe Mixon owners. But on top of that, Andy Dalton's going to have to throw the ball. Without A.J. Green out there, he's got Tyler Boyd, he's got C.J. Uzomah, and he's got John Ross. I don't really trust John Ross. He's never really done anything in the NFL. He hasn't proven himself yet. He's more of a rookie at this point, right? So if you're thinking about picking up John Ross, as a preface, just understand it's like picking up and playing DJ Moore or Traquan Smith. You don't know exactly the production you're going to get out of him. He could put up 10 points, could put up 2 points. We don't know. So anyway, let's get back to Tyler Boyd specifically. Tyler Boyd as a number 1 wide receiver, that's exactly where we want to see him. Now, taking on number 1 cornerbacks and taking on double coverage from safeties over the top, that is going to be a little bit different because Tyler Boyd isn't used to it, considering that usually always went to A.J. Green. But I still think Tyler Boyd going forward, he's going to have 10-plus targets. He's going to have the receptions. They're going to have to get him involved as much as they possibly can within this offense in order to move the ball. He's going to be a vital part of this offense, and going forward, and especially this week against the Saints, who give up a lot of points to the wide receiver position. In fact, the Saints are giving up the most points per week to the wide receiver position on average. So Tyler Boyd, this offense, they're going to be able to pass the ball with efficiency and ease. I absolutely think Tyler Boyd is a start, and that is why he's the first start of the week for me in Week 10 of the fantasy football season. So that is Tyler Boyd. Let's move on to the second start of the week for me. We have here Calvin Ridley. Now, what about Calvin Ridley? Why specifically am I talking about Calvin Ridley? A guy that honestly, prior to last week, kind of disappeared for a couple weeks, and that happens. As I mentioned a little bit before, Calvin Ridley is a rookie, and as I mentioned, these rookies this season, Traquan Smith, DJ Moore, we don't really know what we're going to get out of them on a weekly basis. Cortland Sutton, these guys, yes, they are talented. Anthony Miller, but we don't know how efficient or how effective they can be consistently, right? We haven't been able to see them consistently prove themselves, but Calvin Ridley has, comparatively to all the other receivers coming into from this draft class, he's been the best by far. And the Falcons offense, they're starting to roll. They're really starting to get it going. This past week, the thing that popped out to me mostly was the fact that Calvin Ridley had 9 targets. Now, specifically, this offense, right, they're do or die at this point. The Atlanta Falcons, they need to win games. They started 1-4. They've crawled themselves back to a 4-4 record. Ended up beating a pretty good team last week. I call the Washington Redskins a bunch of pretenders because they're really a fake 5-3 team. But as of right now, Calvin Ridley and this offense, they're full go. They're in full momentum. They're going to try to make a push for the playoffs, a wild card spot. So where do I see Calvin Ridley this specific week against the Cleveland Browns defense? The Cleveland Browns secondary is really beat up as of right now. Denzel Ward was injured halfway through the game last week. And the way I see it, they're going to be a little, empty-handed back there when they're trying to cover Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu. And on top of it, have to worry about the talent of Calvin Ridley. This coming week, I think Calvin Ridley, with his opportunities that he's gotten this season, the obvious red zone threat that he is, that we've seen him be this season. Calvin Ridley Calvin Ridley this week specifically, I like the matchup, and honestly, I think he's going to be able to deliver for us in fantasy. Now, I'm not saying for sure he's a wide receiver 1. That's exactly the opposite. He's a for sure wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. He's a guy that, yes, he's going to be good this week. I absolutely wholeheartedly believe that. But he's not a guy that is going to get, Keenan Allen kind of targets or Tyler Boyd targets. Yet he is still going to be able to be efficient with the amount that he receives. And honestly, I see him scoring a touchdown this week. So there's Calvin Ridley. Let's move on to the next 2 starts of the week for Week 10 of the fantasy football season. We have Tyrell Williams and we have Josh Gordon. Now, let's talk about Tyrell Williams. Now, as of the last 4 weeks, as of the last 3 weeks, oh my goodness, why did I click that thing? That's not the right one. There it is. As of the last 3 weeks, Tyrell Williams has scored 4 touchdowns. Now, here's the thing about Tyrell Williams. He's very boomer bust. He's either going to catch that 75-yard touchdown or he's going to catch, here's the thing, actually. Majority of his plays are going to be deep threats, right? He wants to take the top off the defense because their best receiver, Keenan Allen, is a short yardage slot receiver kind of. He plays on the outside, but he's a slot guy. He wants to run it over the middle and, run comebacks, stuff like short yardage, 15 yards max, right? Tyrell Williams and Mike Williams are kind of in the area where they're going to take the top off the defense. But Tyrell Williams is the speedster on this team. Now, as of the last 3 weeks, he scored 4 touchdowns. And to be honest, he's not really going to get many targets. But if he is to catch a ball, you can expect that Tyrell Williams is going to be able to make a play, find himself in the end zone. That is literally what they draw up for him. They want to get Tyrell Williams in a point where they can either throw it over the top or give the ball to him in space so that he can, make a play. Now, this coming week specifically, they play against the Oakland Raiders. It's going to be a cakewalk, okay? We expect to see the Chargers absolutely annihilate them. We expect Melvin Gordon, we expect Phillip Rivers, and Keenan Allen all to have fantastic games. Now, what's not to believe here? Tyrell Williams could potentially have a sneaky good week. Okay? As of the last couple weeks, he has been a red zone target. As of the last couple weeks, he has made big plays. The Raiders defense, they don't look like they can stop anybody as of right now. They couldn't stop the 49ers offensive last week with Nick Mullins. I understand Kyle Shanahan. He's, cooking up a good offense over there. But that doesn't mean anything. When you play against the Chargers this week, the Raiders defense, they're trying to throw games at this point. They're not really trying to win. And I think Tyrell Williams has a good opportunity this coming week. Just keep your eye out on him. You'll see it in my rankings, so you'll kind of get an idea of where I have him ranked. All right, the last guy I wanted to mention, Josh Gordon. Man, Josh Gordon, as of late, he continues to impress as the weeks go on. He continues to get an increase in target volume. He continues to get an increase in snap volume. And on top of that, with the injuries to Sony Michel and Rob Gronkowski, it's kind of forced Tom Brady to feed the ball to Josh Gordon in specific scenarios, which, by all honesty, is going to build a rapport between the two. And they're going to get comfortable. And rest of season, Josh Gordon is going to continue to be valuable. This past week, had 10 targets, 5 receptions, one of those catches for about a 60-yard touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So 5 catches for 130 and a touchdown this past week. His best performance thus far this season since coming back from the entire situation of his career. Had a really big breakout game this past week. Now, we've seen him prior in this season, have 9 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, 10 targets. So where do I see Josh Gordon going forward? This coming week, the Tennessee Titans defense, especially their cornerbacks, Malcolm Butler and goodness gracious, Adoree Jackson, they're not the best, and Eric Rowe, they're not the best cornerbacks, okay? And specifically, these are guys that have played for the Patriots, right? Eric Rowe and Malcolm Butler, they have both played for the Patriots. So there is a possibility that they're going to go after them, right? Bill Belichick knows those guys' weaknesses. They're going to target them, and they're going to try to make plays on them for sure, without a doubt. They practice with them, and they know, and they've been coached by Belichick. Belichick knows them, right, like the back of his hand. So in my opinion, Josh Gordon, besides being a great athlete, besides getting the uptick in opportunity, snaps, targets, and just being a flat-out monster when it comes to athletic ability, Josh Gordon this coming week has a great matchup. Tennessee Titans secondary is giving up the 8th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position this season. So Josh Gordon this week, I love him. I think he's a great start of the week candidate, and you'll see from my rankings exactly where I have him. But I really honestly believe Josh Gordon will have a fantastic week. So let's go ahead and move on, and let's talk about the sits of the week. Guys that honestly, if you have other options, I would suggest, perhaps taking those options. But I know for a fact some of you're dealing with bye weeks. There's a lot of wide receivers out this week. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Hopkins, Demaryius Thomas. Who else is? Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton, John Brown, Michael Crabtree. There's a lot of receivers that are on the bye. So specifically, these guys, yes, they may end up in your starting roster, which is not a big deal. I'm going to be starting T.Y. Hilton this week in a league, but that is not to say that if you don't have a better option, you might want to look into it and perhaps, play that other option. So as of right now, what do I see with T.Y. Hilton? Why am I saying T.Y. Hilton should perhaps be a sit for this coming week? Well, he plays against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if I had said that last season, people would be intimidated. But from what we've seen of the Jaguars this season, there's not really much fear when it comes to playing against the Jaguars. Yet I still think that it's not easy to go against Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Boye as the corner matchups. As of right now, Jalen Ramsey is not a complete pushover. It's not like he's letting people up, letting them go for 60-yard touchdowns every other play. No, that's not the case as of right now. And the way I see it, since T.Y. Hilton has come back from his hamstring injury that he sustained earlier, I think it was, week 5, T.Y. Hilton hasn't really been the same, and he hasn't gotten the production and or opportunity that he is, accustomed to with Andrew Luck under center. So when the season began, T.Y. Hilton was an 11-target, 10-target kind of guy the entire season. Got his injury, came back. And the last 2 games that he played prior to this past week's bye week, 4 targets. Yes, he had 4 receptions, 2 of them being touchdowns, which saved his week practically. And the other game, 5 targets, only 1 reception against Oakland. 5 targets, only 1 reception against the Oakland Raiders? Come on. So now this coming week, he plays against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, they're at home, but I really honestly believe with the familiarity that Jalen Ramsey has in this matchup, he's going to be able to take advantage of this. T.Y. Hilton, in my opinion, he isn't an elite enough receiver to absolutely destroy guys like Jalen Ramsey. We saw Jalen Ramsey a couple weeks back really make it difficult for Alshon Jeffery to do anything in London. So I think as of right now, if you have other options that are going to be ranked higher than T.Y. Hilton, I'd consider them. Even some of them lower than T.Y. Hilton, might consider them. I just don't think that the projection, I think right now, last time I saw it, T.Y. Hilton's being projected like almost 13 fantasy points this week in half-point PPR. I'm not sure if he'll even get close to that, maybe half. Because honestly, yes, it only takes one play. Take top off the defense, score a touchdown, and you have 13 points. But as of right now, I don't want to, fully invest and say that is a possibility because it's really going to be difficult for the Colts to at least get the ball to T.Y. Hilton. All right, so let's go to move on to the next wide receiver I wanted to mention. Yes, I'm mentioning Jordy Nelson, but this is more of a warning for all Raiders. This isn't even, how do I explain this? Okay, so let's just play it out, just plain and simple. You can't start Jordy Nelson, Martavius Bryant, Brandon LaFell, Andre Holmes, I don't even know if it's Andre. No, it's Seth Roberts. Excuse me, Andre Holmes. Seth Roberts. You can't start any of those guys. On top of that, I'd even say be careful in starting Jared Cook this week. All of the receiving options of the Raiders, you can't start them. They're playing against the Chargers this week. The Chargers are a playoff team, and the Raiders are a team that don't want to win. The offensive line is letting Garrett Carr get hit every other play, and they got completely torched. Destroyed by the San Francisco 49ers. This coming week, don't touch Raiders. Do not even look at them. If anything, if you own a Raiders wide receiver right now, you should drop them. There are better options on the waiver wire. There are better guys that honestly will have way better weeks going forward rest of the season and for this coming week. Absolutely just stay away from your Raiders. If anything, if anybody asks, you're allergic to Raiders wide receivers, you're allergic to Raiders players. The only Raider I'd consider playing right now is Jalen Richard in a full PPR. That is it. Otherwise, stay away from them. So therefore, Jordy Nelson, the rest of the Raiders receiving options, they are sits from here on out. Please get it done. Do not touch them. Get rid of them. They are honestly hazmat suit worthy players. You don't want to touch them. Don't want to touch them. All right. Let's move on to the next 2 guys I wanted to talk about. Chris Godwin and Corey Davis. Now, Chris Godwin this past week was one of my hidden gems of the week, but he stayed hidden, didn't really show up, and didn't have himself a great fantasy week at all. Now, here's the thing about Chris Godwin. This past week, his snap count was around 55%, so he only played 55% of the offensive snaps. To counterbalance that, Deshaun Jackson only played 45% of the offensive snaps. So from what I was able to tell, Chris Godwin was splitting snaps with Deshaun Jackson. Now, on the other side of the field, you obviously have Mike Evans that is getting 90+% of the snaps. And then you had Adam Humphries that plays in the slot, having nearly 85% of the offensive snaps. So Chris Godwin from here on forth, and even Deshaun Jackson, both of them, they're going to be splitting carries. Not carries, splitting attempts, splitting snap counts. So what does that mean? That just purely means that I can't trust Chris Godwin or Deshaun Jackson unless they make a big play. Now, between the two, the big play guy is Deshaun Jackson. Now, does that mean 100% start him? No, that's not the case. I'm just here to warn you guys. If you own Chris Godwin or Deshaun Jackson, be careful because these two are splitting snaps, right? They are each other's backups. And as of right now, I don't know. Can I trust Chris Godwin going forward? They have good matchups. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. But Chris Godwin, I mean, he's going to play second, perhaps third fiddle as of right now. Mike Evans is going to get his targets without a doubt. O.J. Howard is the number 2 receiving option on this team, in my opinion. Number 3 after that, as of the last couple weeks, it's been Adam Humphries. And Adam Humphries, we know that he usually comes out when Jameis Winston's around. Adam Humphries, Cameron Brate, those used to be, in seasons past, those used to be the bread and butter for Jameis Winston. But as of late, Adam Humphries, he's come out and he's looked fantastic. The last 3 weeks, 9 targets, 10 targets, 8 targets. And especially this past week where he had those 2 touchdowns, he's a guy that is going to be able to take snaps away from Chris Godwin. And I'm just here to say, pump the brakes, relax. Maybe just stay away from Chris Godwin for the next couple weeks. Perhaps even drop him if you need instant availability and players that can come in and make a play in the flex position per se in PPR. So Chris Godwin, just be careful. I don't really trust him going forward, especially with Fitzpatrick just feeding the ball everywhere. And obviously Godwin being the third, perhaps fourth option within this receiving offense. So let's go ahead and move on to the last sit for this week. A guy that it's pretty much a buyer beware. For those of you who are considering playing Corey Davis, here's the thing. The New England Patriots, they're pretty decent on the defense. The secondary, right? Giving up points to the wide receiver position, that's not something that the Patriots are really accustomed to. They just, yes, sometimes they're really bad. But I think earlier on in the season, they got destroyed in the passing game. They weren't able to stop anybody. But as of late, the Patriots, they've turned a new leaf. They've just played against Aaron Rodgers and held him to 17 points. That says something for you. Now, do we think that Corey Davis can come out, get his 10 targets, and be a decent receiver? There's a chance. But honestly, when it comes to the Patriots playing against quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota, I 100% believe the Patriots are going to be able to destroy him. Without a doubt in my mind, they are going to be able to manipulate him. And Belichick's going to sit down for the next, couple days, figure out how to make this kid's life a living hell, and he's going to be able to accomplish that, in my opinion. Corey Davis, he had one good week, the first time in God knows how long, right? He had 9 points in half-point PPR this past week, right? And the 4 weeks prior, he had a bye. Then he put up 2.5 points, 2.9 points, 6.9 points. And then he had his 26-point game. That was pretty much an outlier at this point. Can we trust Corey Davis? In my opinion, you can't. And yes, this performance could be promising, but going forward, I really don't like the matchup this week for him. Even though, yes, statistically, it says that the Patriots give up a lot of points to the wide receiver position, but by all means, Stephon Gilmore is going to be draped on this guy the entire game. He's not going to let him have much. So Corey Davis, I just don't trust him. He's one of my sits of the week. All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the fantasy points against, just like I mentioned, with the Patriots giving up the 12th. Wait, what the heck? Where's the Patriots? Oh, that's a little different. They're giving, okay. That is, I was reading, okay, got it. All right. So the Patriots, in fact, they give up the 21st. So if you flip it and come back down the other way, yes, they are 12th nearest to the bottom, which is actually the top. Just don't worry about it, okay? Just look at it. If they're in the green, you want to play wide receivers against them. If they're in the red, you'd probably want to hold your wide receivers going forward, okay? So here's the thing. The New Orleans Saints, yes, we know they give up a lot of points to the wide receiver position. I expect Tyler Boyd to have a good game. Other than him, CJ Uzomah perhaps, but that's a different conversation for tight ends. But other than them, let's look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They give up a lot of points to the wide receiver position on a weekly basis. Can I trust, Josh Doxson, Maurice Harris, perhaps to be able to make some plays this week? I don't think so. I honestly, I doubt it. At this point, I'd be careful there. Maurice Harris is the best option. I know Josh Doxson was able to find the red zone and get himself a touchdown this past week, but his target count didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. So wide receivers for the Redskins this week, just be careful with it. How about the Falcons, right? They play against the Browns this week. I like Jarvis. You'll see it in the rankings, but Is there anybody else within that offense that's going to be able to catch the ball? Maybe Duke Johnson. But other than that, maybe Njoku. Just be careful. Cincinnati Bengals, they're giving up a lot of points to the wide receiver position. That is not good for them. They're going to get blown out this week, which is going to force Andy Dalton to throw the ball more, which helps Tyler Boyd going forward, but still, that's something to be careful with. Anyway, other than that, so the Philadelphia Eagles, they give up the 5th most points to the wide receiver position on a weekly basis. That kind of seems like a surprise to me. Even though I know that their secondary is not great, this team is built on their front 7 and their defensive line defensively. So, yeah, we know that Ronald Darby, Malcolm Jenkins, they're not the best secondary, but when they want to, they can clamp down. I don't think they're going to have troubles with the Cowboys' offense, especially their passing attack. So, yes, Amari Cooper is going to be relevant, but is he going to be top 5? No, not by any means. Moving on, Green Bay Packers. Okay, I don't believe that the Amendolas or the Devontae Parkers of the world are going to have too much of a exciting time this coming week. I think they'll be taken care of. Other than them, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they give up a lot of points through the air. Yet Joe Flacco this past week couldn't do jack. I don't even know if Cam Newton's going to be able to do anything. I know Cam Newton, we haven't seen him. This past week, he threw the ball just a couple times, to be honest, in all consideration, compared to his other games where he throws the ball 40-plus times. Is he going to be able to get Funchess, DJ Moore involved? I would assume they're going to have to, but we'll just have to wait and see. This could be just a ground and pound kind of game where McCaffrey and James Conner are just used consistently. Other than them, we see the Tennessee Titans. They give up a lot of points to the wide receiver position. Not a big surprise. I'm telling you, Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler, they're not the best cornerbacks, and they give up a lot of big plays. Other than that, we see the New York Jets giving up a lot of points. That doesn't mean I'm starting any Bills this week. Calvin Benjamin, nope, that's not happening. Zay Jones, nope, that is not happening either. The Oakland Raiders, oh my goodness. Wow, the Oakland Raiders, they give up a bunch of points to the wide receiver position. Well, Tyrell Williams, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, you guys are going to have decent weeks. That is a given. And on top of that, if that's the case, then chances are Phillip Rivers is having a fantastic week himself also. All right, anyway, other than those top matchups, the middle tier matchups, it just really depends. Honestly, I like playing teams in the middle tier. I have no, reservations when it comes to that. The only time I'll ever consider not playing a guy, right? Let's say, for example, the Cowboys in the bottom, they're the 31st. So technically, they're the second best at holding wide receivers to, only 23 points per game in half-point PPR. Does that mean I'm not starting Golden Tate or Alshon Jeffery? I don't think so. That's not the case, in my opinion. What we saw Corey Davis was able to do, imagine. Alshon Jeffery is pretty much Corey Davis 2.0 in my opinion. So I think, yes, this Cowboys defense has been pretty good as of the last couple weeks, but I think the Eagles are going to have a good time. And it's not like I wouldn't start them. Yes, these specific statistics do have an influence, but there are so many different variables in fantasy football that I can't just look at this and make this the only reason why I would specifically start or sit a player. It has to do with opportunity, target volume, snaps, that kind of stuff that would also influence it. So besides this, there's other factors, but this is for you guys just to check it out if you don't have this at your specific website for fantasy. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the last section of this video. Let's have a shorter video today, yeah? So I can go to sleep early, maybe answer some questions in the comment section. We'll just have to wait and see. But let's begin with the Week 10 waiver wire. Nope, not the waiver wire. Wide receiver rankings. Goodness, I'm tired, guys. I am tired, to say the least. Okay, I said waiver wire. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's break out the top 18 wide receiver rankings for this coming week. Okay, let's begin from the top. We have Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Plain and simple, he's coming off that 200 receiving yard game, over 12 receptions and a touchdown. Picks up the cell phone in the end zone, has himself a great celebration. This coming week plays against Cincinnati Bengals. They are going to destroy the Bengals. And Michael Thomas yes, we all know Dez Bryant was signed to the Saints earlier today. How much value does he have potentially? Wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. He's a decent snag if you'd like, but I don't see him coming in and instantly making, himself fantasy relevant per se. Because to be honest, this offense is run through Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. And those are the two monsters that they'll continue to feed. And this coming week against the Bengals, Michael Thomas, he's going to have a fantastic week. He's going to continue to be on fire, hopefully, for fantasy owners. And he should be great. So he's my number 1 this week. Number 2, we have Julio Jones playing against the Cleveland Browns. As I mentioned before, the Browns secondary is a little banged up as of right now. And that is absolutely going to play into the hand of the Atlanta Falcons. As I mentioned earlier in this video, Calvin Ridley is one of my starts of the week. I like his matchups, and I like his opportunity. On top of that, Julio Jones should have himself a great week as well. I wouldn't mind seeing Julio Jones catch another touchdown for us. As a Julio Jones owner, man, please, I'd love that absolutely. But as of right now, Julio Jones going into a very good matchup, very advantageous, and he is the number 1 wide receiver on a very high-scoring offense. The Falcons are getting into their full steam ahead, and they're getting the juices flowing. They've gotten to a point where they're finally 500 again, first time in a very long time, and hopefully they can make this last this last push. They got 8 more games to finish out here. They're gonna get there, and they're gonna be great while they're blowing out teams. I'm telling you, these NFC South teams, they're not gun shy, to say the least. They want to do shootouts, and that's gonna help Julio. So he's my number 2 this week. Number 3, we have Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers playing tomorrow, in fact, against the Panthers. Now we saw what Ryan Fitzmagic was able to do against that defense. He was able to tear them apart, right? I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have any struggle against the Panthers defense. In fact, it's going to be a pretty easy game, in my opinion, for Ben Roethlisberger and this offense. So going forward, Antonio Brown, he's one of the best in the league, and he's my number 3 this week. Here's the only caveat for this. Why isn't he like number 1? I just feel like comparatively to these other receivers, Michael Thomas is the number 1. Traquan Smith isn't really going to get much. The only other guy that's competing with him is Alvin Kamara within that offense, right? Julio, he's going to get like his guaranteed 12-plus targets. And that is no matter whether they run the ball or not. Okay, he's going to get his targets. Antonio Brown, on the other hand, there is always a chance that Juju Smith-Schuster steals a receiving touchdown. There is always a chance. There's even a chance that guys like Vance McDonald or Jesse James this week might get after it, because the Panthers, they give up the most points, or they give up the second most points to the wide receiver position. The tight end position. So those guys like McDonald or Jesse James, they could be guys that contribute this week. And then we always know that James Conner's capable. So I'm just a little afraid. It's Thursday night. It's a short week. There's a potential that Antonio Brown doesn't play out of his mind, but he's going to be good either way. Anyway, let's move on to the next guy, Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers. It's honestly more and more, of a, I don't know if it's a boost of confidence in my opinion, more than I just like the fact that there is a number 2 established receiver within this offense. In my opinion, it's boosting my confidence to play Davante Adams when I know that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is on the other side of the field. Because to be honest, when this guy's pulling, double coverage out in the field, he's going to do that anyway. But when he's doing it on a consistent basis and there isn't anybody else getting open, that begins to worry me. Then there's just not enough opportunity around. Aaron Rodgers, he needs to find that number 2 receiver. With Geronimo Allison now on the injured reserve, as I mentioned earlier this week, it's all MVS, baby, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And as of right now, as long as he's the number 2 wide receiver, getting himself open, Jimmy Graham's getting himself more involved in the passing game, I still like Davante Adams as a number 1 receiver going Howard. I know Xavier Howard is the corner that's trying to lock him down this week. I'm not really worried. I like Davante Adams at 4. Number 5, we have Keenan Allen. As I mentioned before, with Chargers wide receivers, they're going to have a pretty easy time against the Raiders this week, against a team that's not really trying to win any games. You never know. The Raiders might come out and try throw some hands, do something. But Keenan Allen, he's back, baby. Hopefully he can continue to sustain this kind of opportunity, production. And for us fantasy owners who spent a pretty high pick on him, pretty penny, he can continue to be as good as he was this past week. So I see him being great against this team, and hopefully he'll be just as good as we hope. All right, number 6, we have Odell Beckham Jr. coming off the bye week, playing against the San Francisco 49ers defense. I think Odell Beckham's going to be fine. Eli Manning was named the starter this week. There was a lot of speculation that perhaps the backup is going to go ahead and take the spot so that he can play the rest of the season, get some reps so they can see, do we have a potential starter on our hands, or do we have to go and draft a quarterback with our first overall pick? Because, again, the Giants are another team that want to tank. They're trying to compete with the Raiders to see who's going to get the number 1 overall pick. We'll just have to wait and see, but either way, I still think Odell Beckham's going to have himself a great week against the 49ers secondary, who, in my opinion, they really aren't that good, right? They may have had a great week this past week, but they're really not that good. And I think Odell Beckham will be able to expose them. He's my number 6 wide receiver. Number 7, Mike Evans. As I mentioned earlier on in the week, he was 1 for 10 this past week, had 10 targets, 1 reception. And many of you pointed out to me, Andrew, it wasn't technically his fault. A lot of it was Ryan Fitzpatrick's inaccuracy and his ability to throw the ball 10 yards over this dude's head right into Eric Reed's lap where he got an interception. I understand, yes, it makes a difference when Ryan Fitzpatrick is thrown like a bum. But as of right now and going forward, Mike Evans is still a high-valued wide receiver. He's got the ability to be a red zone threat. And when he's getting 10-plus targets a week, no matter who's at quarterback, it's absolutely a confidence booster. So for sure, he's my number 7 this week. So start him up. Let's get him going, Mike Evans. All right, number 8, we have Tyreek Hill. Here's the thing about Tyreek Hill. He could absolutely be a bum this week. He could absolutely put up only 8 points and just be a garbage can. There's always that possibility. But then there's also the possibility that he comes out against the Arizona Cardinals this week and has himself 3 touchdowns. What kind of Tyreek Hill are we going to get? I am not completely certain. But at this point, I think, Patrick Peterson, I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Tyreek Hill. And I honestly think Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to throw a couple deep balls this game and find Tyreek Hill for a pretty big payday. So Tyreek Hill, you're my number 8, baby. Number 9, we have Bradin Cooks. Speaking of another speedster, playing against the Seattle Seahawks. Bradin Cooks this past week had himself a very fantastic game. Looked pretty good, to say the least, against the Saints secondary, which was giving up the most points. Now they have to go play against the Seattle Seahawks, but they were in Los Angeles. The only thing is Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, or Robert Woods going to be relevant? I think this coming week, and as you'll see later on in my rankings when I mention them, they're all going to be relevant. This team is going to put up a lot of points. They are not happy with their performance last week, and they're going to have something to prove against the Seattle Seahawks, a team that wants to make a wild card push, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I honestly believe Brandon Cooks is going to have a good week. He's my number 9 at the wide receiver position for half-point PPR scoring. Number 10, we have Cooper Kupp, baby. I mentioned him last week. I knew in my heart of hearts that Cooper Kupp would be a monster, and guess what? He was a beast. Cooper Kupp ended up finding the end zone, and that's just what he does, right? When Cooper Kupp is on the field, going forward from here on out, he is a guy you have to start. I would have put him in the starts of the week, but to be honest, if you don't already know to start Cooper Kupp on a weekly basis every single time he's healthy, then what are you doing, right? You're not a Cooper Kupp owner. Cooper Kupp owners already know that Koopy Kupp, he's ready to feast. Jared Goff's number 1 weapon. This coming week, he's my number 10 wide receiver. I expect him to have a fantastic week and be extremely fantasy relevant. He's my number 10. Number 11, we have Jarvis Landry playing against the Atlanta Falcons defense and secondary. The secondary is not great, to be honest. We know that they've struggled throughout the season. He'll have Desmond Trufant on him. Is that going to make a huge difference? Nah, I don't really think so. But the question is Jarvis Landry going to be able to catch more than 50% of the balls that are thrown at him? That's literally the conversation that needs to be had. Because if Jarvis Landry isn't going to catch 5 balls when he's getting at least 14 targets, there is an issue. Let me just go ahead. Let's go find some Jarvis Landry stats really quickly. All right, this past week, Jarvis Landry, He had 7 targets, 6 receptions. Wow, that is actually fantastic. But, actually, as of late, he's been pretty efficient. But, God, his depth of target is awful. 6 receptions, only 50 yards. The week prior, 8 receptions, only 39 yards. Look, that in itself, that kind of worries me. Now, what exactly is my worry? I'm scared that Baker Mayfield's a little gun-shy. Maybe he's a little timid to, throw the ball downfield, let it rip. I know Jarvis Landry in the past, especially when he played in Miami, he was a inside receiver that pretty much worked exclusively in the slot. Now that he's moved to the outside, yes, he's still a fantastic wide receiver, but it's a little different for Landry, and it's a little different for Baker Mayfield when he's afraid to throw the ball down the field. He's got to lose that. He's got to hurry up and start throwing the ball downfield so that Jarvis Landry can get us some fantasy points and hopefully be more fantasy relevant. But this coming week, he's got a fantastic matchup. He will continue to get 10-plus targets a week. This past week, a little bit of a difference because Duke Johnson was implemented within this offense, had 9 receptions, 9 targets, so that kind of stole a little bit away from him. But I think going forward, and especially in this week, Jarvis Landry will be efficient, and he'll be a great play. All right, number 12, we have Tyler Boyd, one of my starts of the week at the wide receiver position. He is the number 1 wide receiver for the Bengals going forward until we get some more news on A.J. Green. From what we know, it's about 2 weeks, and then he'll be reevaluated to see if he'll need surgery on his toe. But as of right now, Tyler Boyd owners, rejoice, enjoy it, because he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of fantasy value, and I expect him to do some good things this week and going forward. All right, number 13, we have Juju Smith-Schuster. Here's the thing about Juju. Goodness, I hope you're going to be... I hope you can be fantasy relevant going forward, but sometimes they just forget to throw you the ball, Juju. Maybe that's the case. When they're too busy handing the ball off to James Conner, throwing the ball to James Conner, feeding Antonio Brown, you become a third thought in Ben Roethlisberger's mind. He begins to forget about you. You've got to make a big play this week against Carolina Panthers tomorrow on Thursday Night Football so they can remember, oh my God, we still have that USC second-year wide receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster, that's an absolute animal. Come on, Juju. This week, I believe in you. I like the matchup. I think you'll be fantasy relevant for sure. And I think this game is going to be somewhat of a decently high-scoring game. 2 very powerful offenses and good teams overall. So, Juju Smith, you're my number 13. Have a great week. Let's do this. All right, number 14, we have Josh Gordon, another one of my starts of the week. Playing against the Tennessee Titans, a very advantageous matchup. He continues to get a high amount of snaps, targets, and going forward, especially if Gronk and Sony Michel aren't around, he's going to be good. Now, when Gronk and Sony Michel come back, yes, it may hurt him a tad bit, but honestly, I don't think it's going to hurt him to the extent that we may think, because we know Edelman's going to get his. We know James White is going to get his. Now, the rest, that is up to whether Gronk ends up being open, because if Gronk's not healthy and he's not playing, or if he's not open, Josh Gordon is that next guy. I really like him this week in the matchup, going against those old Patriots corners. I think he's going to have a good time. That's Josh Gordon. Number 15, we have Marvin Jones Jr. So here's the thing about Marvin Jones. Plays against the Bears defense this week. The Bears defense is great against the run. By all means, they are fantastic against the run. And pass rush-wise, they're going to be pretty good. Whether or not Khalil Mack plays, it does not matter. But if he does play, Matthew Stafford owners do not start him this week, okay? The only weakness the Bears defense has is primarily against the pass. So Marvin Jones should be good. He should get his 10-plus targets. He should be a little better than he was last week. Last week, it's just they couldn't move the ball. They got down to the red zone. They moved it just a tad bit. They got down to the red zone, sack, kicked the field goal. That's literally what partook. I swear to God. I watched the game. It was incredible just how bad the offensive line of the Lions was. Marvin Jones this week, even Kenny Golladay, both of them are capable of having good weeks. Just depends if they get that ever-elusive touchdown. 2 big wide receivers, but they got to compete for the red zone. Marvin Jones, I like him. He's my number 15. Number 16, Alshon Jeffery. As of right now, my only concern for Alshon Jeffery is, we know he's the bigger target, 6'5", a bigger dude for sure. He's a red zone guy. We know that Carson Wentz loves to find him in the red zone, along with Zach Ertz. But here's the thing. The question is the addition of Golden Tate going to take some targets away from Alshon Jeffery? There's a potential. I've put him at 16 this week just to be careful because there is always a chance that Golden Tate shows up, finds himself 10 receptions. We know for a fact that Golden Tate, when he played for the Lions these last couple years, he was a 90 reception, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdown kind of guy throughout every single season, right? That was his baseline average. 90 receptions, 1,000 yards, 950 to 1,000 yards, and 5+ touchdowns. When he comes within this offense, he takes over the slot. It may take away from Alshon Jeffery because Golden Tate's going to find himself open very often. And with Carson Wentz being able to make some plays, this may hurt Alshon Jeffery, but I still like him enough to have him within my top 16. He's my number 16 receiver. I still think that his red zone threat and his ability to find the ball and his opportunity with targets is going to make him relevant. Just be careful this week. He's my number 16. Number 17, Robert Woods, the third musketeer of this offense of wide receivers for the Rams. Robert Woods, why do I have him way lower? I mean, it's not technically way lower than the other two, but I just feel like Cooper Kupp is going to get his mid-range, dump offs, and he's going to get a lot of targets because of the fact that he is Jared Goff's number one, in my opinion, right? And a lot of statistics says he really is. When he plays with Jared Goff, he gets a lot of targets, a lot of receptions. Bradin Cooks, he's going to get, his plays over the top. They are designed specifically for him. Now, Robert Woods, last time he played against Seattle, he had a good game. If I'm not mistaken, Robert Woods, last time he played Seattle, was that 2-touchdown game? Okay, great. You had 2 touchdowns last time. Does that mean you're going to be fantastic this time? Let's see. Seattle, yeah. No, that wasn't against Seattle. Goodness gracious, that was against Los Angeles Chargers. So that is a mistake. Last time he played Seattle, he had 17 points in which he had 92 receiving yards, 5 receptions. What did he have, though? Did he have a lot of rushing yards in that game? I got to figure that out. I know they run that end-round BS a lot. They run the crap out of that. Let's go ahead and find this box score, shall we? Robert Woods, bada boom. Robert Woods had 50 rushing yards with the end around. Oh, my goodness. 2 rushes for 53 yards. Well, that was a little bit inflated. But as of late, Robert Woods, he hasn't been amazing, right? Okay, sure. He's being productive enough to be a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. But as of late, he hasn't caught a touchdown since when? Oh, goodness. He hasn't caught a touchdown since week 4. Literally week 4. Against Minnesota, by the way. He's been great. He's going to be great. But is he good enough to, catch a touchdown this week? That is the question. Now, I'm going to assume that he's not going to catch that touchdown. Therefore, he's at 17 comparatively to Cooks and Kupp. So, yes, he's going to still have value. He's a wide receiver, too, going forward. But just not high enough to eclipse Kupp or Cooks for this coming week. All right, let's move on to number 18. We have Larry Fitzgerald. Monster, legend. As of late, Larry Fitzgerald, he's getting involved within this offense. Hopefully, Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator of the Cardinals, has seen the light. They're going to feed Larry Fitzgerald the ball. Playing against the Kansas City Chiefs defense this week, I feel like he has a pretty good opportunity. Josh Rosen needs his safety blanket. It's going to be Larry Fitzgerald. We've seen him be productive with him. He's got 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games that he's played, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and look that up to confirm. I'm pretty sure, yes, he has. He's got 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, especially this past week against San Francisco 49ers. Sorry, not this past week, but the week prior to that because they were on bye this past week. He had 12 targets, 8 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. The week prior to that, 8 targets. The week prior to that, 8 targets. His target count looks like it's going up, right? Comparatively to this season where he was at 2 targets, 3 targets, 5 targets. We don't want to see that. That's not what Larry Legend's about. We're talking about 8 targets up to, 12 targets, 8 receptions, a touchdown this coming week against a secondary that, yes, they're not fantastic, but they're decent, right? The Kansas City secondary is decent. But here's the thing. Kansas City, they're going to come out passing, and they're going to try to score, and they're going to score a lot of points and very fast. After that occurs, it's going to be up to Josh Rosen to try to find his receivers, make some plays. I like Larry Fitzgerald this coming week because of the fact that the game script's going to be all passing. And he's going to be able to find himself open on many different occasions. So he's my number 18 this week. All right, so we are here at the 19 through 36 rankings. We've got about 10 minutes. So let's see how fast I can get through this so I can keep this within 60 minutes, 60 seconds. It doesn't matter. Here we go. Number 19, we have Julian Edelman. He's been absolutely fantastic as of late. Since his return, he is, next to James White, he's been the next best receiver when it comes to targets, receptions, yardage. Julian Edelman is a for sure. He's just pretty much the Cooper Kupp of the Tom Brady offense. That's literally what he's become at this point. And for fantasy owners, he's been fantastic, especially in PPR formats. So this coming week, into a pretty easy matchup, very advantageous for the wide receiver position. With Gronk back and Michelle back, that only helps Julian Edelman because that eases off the pressure for him to make plays consistently. So he's going to find himself even more and more available and open within this offense. So he's my number 19 this week. Number 20, we have T.Y. Hilton. Even though I mentioned, yes, you might want to consider not playing him, he still has a lot of value. If he's able to be productive, he can be great. But I'm just warning you guys, Jalen Ramsey is a son of a gun. He is going to put a lot of pressure on T.Y. Hilton, make his life a living hell by all means this coming Sunday. Andrew Luck, he's up for the test. But is Andrew Luck going to look to try to pass the ball to Ebron and Doyle, Chester Rogers, maybe Marlon Mack out of the backfield? Or is he going to be able to throw into tight coverage against guys like Jalen Ramsey? We'll just have to wait and see. Just be careful, guys. All right, let's move on to number 21, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a guy that's been, honestly, he's been pretty good as of late. And by all means, this coming week, I think if you're the number 2 option in an Aaron Rodgers offense, you're guaranteed to have fantasy points. We've seen it in years past, without a doubt. Whether it was Jordy Nelson and Davante Adams was that number 2, or it was Jordy Nelson and what's his name? Randall Cobb is that number 2. We've seen the number 2s of the Aaron Rodgers-led offense be very productive and very fantasy relevant at times. So this coming week against the Miami Dolphins secondary, that have been decent. They've caused some turnovers, sure. But Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's going to be asked to do a lot going forward. Yes, he's a young receiver, but I think with what he's been able to do as of late, he has a very good opportunity. Therefore, he's my number 21 this week. Yes, it may be a little high, but I have a good feeling about him this coming week. Number 22, we have Devin Funchess playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, giving up a lot of passing yards as of late to the wide receiver position. Here's the only worry, okay? If Devin Funchess, this past week, yes, he wasn't able to produce, but that was mainly game script oriented because of the fact that the Carolina Panthers were up so many points so quickly. They're up 35 in the first half. Why did they need to pass the ball? They didn't have to. Therefore, they didn't. The run game was working, and Devin Funchess, he just fell out of the game script, unfortunately. This coming week against Pittsburgh Steelers, tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, he's going to have a decent game. I like his opportunity. I like the targets that he gets when the game script is closer. So therefore, Devin Funchess, you are my number 22. All right, number 23, we have Doug Baldwin. Looked way better this past week for sure, right? The one time I say, hey, Doug Baldwin, we don't trust you, you're ranked 30, he shows up. Fantastic. Doug Baldwin. You saw what Marcus Peters did the other night, right? He does this all year long. He literally makes mistakes after mistakes. He lets up big plays. Okay? He let Michael Thomas pretty much walk right past him into the end zone. This coming week, you're going to have coverage from Marcus Peters. He loves making mistakes. He's the reason why a lot of the points that have been put up on the Los Angeles Rams this year, they exist because of the fact that Marcus Peters is making some mistakes. Baldwin, please do not disappoint us. We are going to start you this week. You're a wide receiver 2. You're not a wide receiver 1. We're not putting too much pressure on you. Make some plays. He's my number 23. All right, number 24, we have Amari Cooper ending out the wide receiver 2 conversation for this coming week, in my opinion. 8 targets this past week, 5 receptions, had a touchdown. They look to try to give him the ball. That is fantastic. That is exactly what we want. When you have a brand new toy out there, you want to use it. Great. You used it. Please, by all means. Ronald Darby's going to have coverage on him. Feed him the ball. Ronald Darby is not a top-tier elite cornerback. He's not a guy that's going to be able to shut him down for 60 minutes straight. Amari Cooper is a talented wide receiver. Got to feed him the rock. I think they'll be able to do that this coming week because that run defense, it is pretty daunting. And this offensive line of the Cowboys hasn't been great as of late, so Amari Cooper is going to be asked to do a lot this coming week. He's my number 24. Number 25, one of my starts of the week at the wide receiver position, we have Calvin Ridley. I'm pretty much assuming that Mohamed Sanu is not showing up this week. He's going to take the week off. He's going to get covered a little bit here and there, and Calvin Ridley is going to have himself a great week, as I mentioned before. So if you skipped that part and you've somehow ended up here, there is a timestamp below for you to go click and hear me talk about Calvin Ridley. Otherwise, we're moving on to Kenny Golladay. As I mentioned before, the Bears, they're going to give Matthew Stafford a hell of a time. They're going to make it very difficult for this Lions team to run the ball, much less Kerryon Johnson that I mentioned yesterday in the running backs video. He is a sit for this week. So where does that leave the Lions offense? That leaves them with Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. They're both going to be asked to get a bunch of targets and hopefully have a bunch of receptions this week in order to move the rock. Therefore, Kenny Golladay, you're my number 24. I have some faith in you. You just got to be able to step up, dude. Come on. As of late, you have been a garbage can, but you got to turn this around. All right, number 27. Speaking of Lions wide receivers, we have Golden Tate. Yes, he's no longer in Detroit, but he's playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And this coming week, I have a pretty good idea of how they want to use him. They've brought him in order to, ensure that Carson Wentz has a guy to dump the ball off to. They're probably not going to use. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the running backs of the Eagles, especially with Darren Sproles coming back this week. But to sidetrack that, as of right now, Golden Tate, he's going to get, probably 6 receptions a game. And in PPR, half-point PPR leagues, that's exactly where we want him because he's going to make plays. He's going to find himself fantasy relevant. Therefore, this week, he's my number 27. Number 28, one of my starts of the week, Tyrell Williams. Guys, I am not afraid to start him in a wide receiver 3 flex spot this coming week because, honestly, the matchup is juicy against the Raiders, and he continues to find the end zone, whether it's over the top of the defense and or easy routes that he gets to walk into the end zone. He's a guy that is very comfortable with Phillip Rivers, even when Keenan Allen was out with that ACL injury a couple years back. Tyrell Williams has been a 1,000-yard receiver before, so it's not a surprise that he's able to find as many receptions as he does with Phillip Rivers on such a lower opportunity. This coming week, I have a lot of confidence in him. Therefore, he's my number 28. Number 29, Corey Davis. As I mentioned, just be careful with this guy. He could be good this week, right? He could be decent. But then again, he's going to have Stephon Gilmore on him. And we've seen Corey Davis disappear in the past. And we've seen Bill Belichick pick on younger quarterbacks that aren't, fantastic players in the NFL. So just be careful with the Titans offense. As of right now, let's move on to number 30, Tyler Lockett. Didn't do much this past week because he's very touchdown dependent. We know that for a fact. I'm not afraid to start guys like Tyler Lockett, even though they're very touchdown dependent. But either way, the Rams, we've seen them give up a lot of points. Will the Seahawks be able to, cash in on that? I think they will be able to. Therefore, Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver 3 is not a bad idea. 31, we have Sammy Watkins. Here's the only difference on Sammy Watkins. He might even disappear off this list. He's questionable right now. He has a foot injury. He has dealt with foot injuries in the past that have held him out for seasons, especially in Buffalo. A lot of his nagging injuries that held him out for a very long time, which eventually got him traded away from the Bills, dealt with his foot injury. I'm not sure to what extent he is injured, but as of right now, keep an eye out on him. Otherwise, against the Arizona Cardinals, he can be a pretty good play, 10 points minimum in a full PPR for sure, and has the upside of a touchdown. Anyway, let's move on to number 32, Sterling Shepard, coming off the bye week. As I mentioned, Odell Beckham's going to have a pretty easy time, so why not Sterling Shepard? We've seen him be great this season. So other than Odell Beckham, Saquon, it's going to be Sterling Shepard within this offense. Evan Ingram hasn't really showed up, so Sterling Shepard going forward, good wide receiver, pretty good idea for a wide receiver 3 in a PPR. Let's move on to number 33, Adam Humphries. As I mentioned before, with Chris Godwin getting a little bit of a decline when it comes to the opportunities that he's getting, whether it's targets and or snaps, Adam Humphries has stepped into that wide receiver 2 conversation with, just about 9, 10, 8 carries. Targets this past couple weeks. So Adam Humphries coming into this for this coming week, Redskins, they've got a good defense, right? But Adam Humphries, if he continues to stay on the field as that slot position, continues to get those targets, he can be fantasy relevant. As a number 3 flex, I like him. Honestly, I wouldn't mind starting him this week. All right, number 34, we have Robby Anderson. Now, why am I thinking about playing Robby Anderson against the Bills? Well, if I'm not mistaken, I heard a little bird tell me that Sam Darnold is injured. He may not play this week. Now, if that is the specific case and Josh McCown is asked to play quarterback for the Jets, by all means, Robby Anderson is going to have a great week. Last time we saw Josh McCown, he was lighting up the league. He was slinging it, and he was feeding the ball to Robby Anderson exclusively. And they had a very great year in 2017 together. So I like Robby Anderson if Josh McCown is the quarterback. He's pretty much Fitzmagic, just not as great of an arm because he's been beat up his entire career. So is Fitzmagic, but it's a different conversation. Josh McCown, he does not give an F. He will throw the ball into double coverage, and that's what I like to see. So hopefully Robby Anderson will be able to thrive off that. Number 35, Danny Amendola, playing against the Green Bay Packers. Here's the thing. Of the wide receivers on this Dolphins team, Amendola is pretty much the only one I trust. Is that a bad thing? Sure, at times it could be. But as of right now, Danny Amendola this past week had another 7 targets. Wasn't able to get as much yardage, but 5 receptions, 47 yards. In a PPR, that's pretty decent. In half-point PPR, it's pretty decent. So he's a guy as a third wide receiver, as a flex option for this week, especially if you're dealing with bye weeks. Good option. I like Danny Amendola, the last wide receiver I wanted to mention. Anthony Miller of the Chicago Bears. I don't know if Allen Robinson's coming back. And to be honest, Taylor Gabriel is pretty one-dimensional. So as of right now, where do I see Anthony Miller? I see him having a pretty decent week. Other than Tariq Cohen catching the ball out of the backfield and Trey Burton a couple times here and there, I think Anthony Miller is the next guy as of a wide receiver-wise. So I like him this week. Keep him out. Keep an eye out on him, especially if you're sitting on your waivers and you need a flex wide receiver 3 option. Good idea, especially in the matchup against the Lions. Should be decent. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button. Help us get to 4,000. Thank you for all of you who have stuck along, watched the entire video. Click that like button. Fantastic. And if you have any questions, Twitter or down in the comments section, I will get to you for sure. Until next time, I'll see you guys.